Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alana and here I talk about books. I recently started picking my books based on the phase of my cycle that I'm in, and it's been a game changer. I've always known myself to be a mood reader, but when I started noticing the patterns of how closely my mood is tied to the phases of my cycle, my moods and my book picks started to make a lot more sense. For a long time, I didn't really have a regular cycle. Between pregnancies and IUDs, I never really gave my body a chance to do its regular natural thing. So now I'm actually getting to know myself all over again, and I'm loving being so in tune with my body's natural rhythm. If someone had said all this stuff to me like a year ago, I would think you're crazy. But I'm actually really into it now. I really think there is something to letting your body do its natural thing and knowing what to expect from yourself. I put together a list of book recommendations for each phase of the cycle. I think picking your books this way really helps you enjoy the books more and helps you process your own emotions that you're dealing with in that moment. Today I want to start with the luteal phase because it's arguably the worst one, and it's where I'm at right now. The luteal phase is that sweet spot between ovulation and your period where you're not feeling spicy anymore. You're just waiting for your period to come. I typically have really low energy. I feel irritable, annoyed, sad, and I like to have a good cry. Sometimes it's nice to read something that matches the mood and just let it out. I feel like reading something sad when I'm feeling sad myself really allows me to kind of experience it more and just process those feelings. Let's jump in. Obviously, my very first recommendation is Abby Jimenez. I know that's not a book, that's an author, but specifically the Part of Your World series by Abby Jimenez. There are 3 books in the series. There's closed door spice, so you know what's happening, but there are no details about it, which is nice because you still get the romance. But if you're not feeling spicy, you maybe don't really want to read spice. Closed door spice is the worst to read when you're ovulating because then you actually want the spice and it's not there. Anyways, the Part of Your World series is an interconnected standalone series that consists of 3 books. The first one is called Part of Your World. It's about an ER doctor that meets this hot carpenter that's 10 years younger than her. They live in different towns, they have completely different lives, so it's kind of like figuring out if they can be part of each other's world. It's such a beautiful book. I really enjoyed this. The second book is called Yours Truly, and it's about 2 ER doctors that had terrible first impressions. I think I read this in like the middle of a luteal phase, and I just sobbed. There were parts of this book where I just sobbed. Sitting on the couch, my husband's looking over at me like, "Are you okay?" Anyway, I think it's a really solid read, especially in those times when you're feeling more emotional. The third book is called Just for the Summer. This one is about a traveling nurse who's trying to break a dating curse with a guy that she met on Reddit. This book is both fluffy and original. It's funny and it's sweet and it's just a great story. These 3 are probably my favorite from what I've read by Abby Jimenez and just perfect for this time of the month for you. My next book suggestions are about grief and love. I would say that in these 2 suggestions, grief is the main plot line and there's a romantic subplot. The first one was actually my book of the year for 2024. I read 68 books in 2024 and this was my #1 read. It's called P.S. I Hate You by Lauren Connolly. This is about a girl who's grieving the death of her brother. Her brother's dying wish was that she go on a scavenger hunt with his best friend. The scavenger hunt takes them cross-country to all the places the brother didn't get a chance to visit before he died. The sister was in love with her brother's best friend, and now she has to go on a road trip with him. If you don't mind a little bit of spice at this time of month, this is a great pick. Again, the spice is not the focus. I would say it's more about these 2 coming together and supporting each other in their grief. There's a grumpy and sunshine trope here, and I just love the male main character. It's a really beautifully written book, and I highly recommend it to everyone. The next suggestion is a little bit similar because it's also about grief. It's called Promise Me Sunshine by Cara Bastone. Oh, I actually have it here. Promise Me Sunshine with this beautiful cover. I typically don't like covers where there's like drawn characters. I think it makes the book look a little bit fluffy, but really it's such a beautifully written book. This is about a girl who loses her best friend. She really struggles with the grief, and she meets a guy through a babysitting job that she has. This is another grumpy sunshine type trope, so clearly that's something that I enjoy. It's really about him helping her work through that grief, because that's something that he has experience with as well and that he had to go through alone. The book is about the journey of healing, and you really fall in love with the characters. It's a really great read, and it lets you get those big feelings out. My next subcategory of books to read during the luteal phase is It's Complicated. I don't even know how to describe this category except that it's just deeply emotional and it's complex. So when I'm having a lot of big feelings about these books, I'm not thinking about the big feelings that I'm having inside, which is kind of nice. Book 1 from this category is Broken Country by Claire Leslie Hall. I believe this was also a Reese's book club pick. I got my copy from Book of the Month. This has non-linear storytelling, which I'm typically not a big fan of because it kind of confuses me sometimes, but I think that this still had a very, very strong storytelling voice and it's really well written. It touches on first love, marriage, child loss, grief, family. It starts off with a murder, but you don't know who died and who the murderer is. And to explain the story of what really happened, we have to go back in time and look at the separate stories of each of the characters and how they are connected. I would highly recommend this read, and what I liked about it is that decisions need to be made, and they're not easy decisions. Definitely a 5-star read. Next in the It's Complicated category, we have Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. I would say that overall, it's not that the book is very emotional, it's just that over time you get really attached to the characters. The characters are so well written and so likable. The story is about a woman who washes up on shore of an island that's being evacuated. Essentially, the island is sinking and everyone's already been evacuated except for one family that takes care of the island. They'll be leaving soon as well, but at this point, it's just the dad and his 3 kids that are still there. This family has been through a lot, and they have secrets. But this woman, who shows up out of nowhere, also has secrets. This woman ends up staying with the family because there's no other way for her to get off the island at the moment. What I really loved about this book is that the setting and the vibe that it creates is so all-encompassing, and it really sucks you in. When I think of this book, I can still feel like I'm on that island too. I would probably classify this as mystery. There is a little bit of romance in the book, but that's not the focus of it. And the romance that is there, it is like a deep, emotional, primal kind of love. I'm going to finish off with something light. My last and final suggestion for the LUTEAL phase is a happy cry kind of book. The Other Side of Now by Paige Harbison. I have a more detailed, spoiler-free review of this on my channel. I have recommended this book to everyone. So far, it might be one of my top reads of 2025. This book has magical realism. What that means is it's fiction with some supernatural elements. The book is about a girl who ends up in the alternate timeline of her own life, where one major decision pulls her in a completely different direction. It's such a beautiful, heartwarming story about gratitude, self-fulfillment, friendship, love. I read this book in one day, and I really couldn't put it down. So far, everyone that I've recommended it to that actually has read it has really, really enjoyed it. It's a great book for having a good cry, but it's also one of those books that I think can be read really in any phase. It really ties all of the phases together. Do you ever pick your books based on the phase of your cycle? If not, would you be willing to give it a try? Leave a comment with your book suggestion for the LUTEAL phase. Let's have a good cry together. Let's let it all out, and when the menstrual phase comes, we'll move on to the other book suggestions. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss my upcoming videos. Thanks for tuning in, and you got this. I believe in you. You can make it through the LUTEAL phase.